So I think a first-party data strategy is very important for CTV. As more and more ad dollars are moving to streaming and to CTV, the concept of addressability becomes more and more important. And addressability you can, of course, achieve through various ways. A very prominent way of getting to addressability is by identity matching. And another way is actually through a first-party data strategy, whereby a publisher creates first-party data segments and then makes them available to the market. Now we see very clearly that the identity matching is under pressure. There's a lot of identity signal deprecation, which means that we're expecting that let's say identity signals will really diminish in the next years. Some very good examples are, for instance, of course, the mobile ad ID deprecation, but also IP obfuscation, and there's plenty of other mechanisms now in place to really limit the number of signals available in the market. So we think a first-party data strategy will be very important to augment, let's say, that ID matching strategy. And maybe a final word to say about that is that this ID matching is very prominent. But it's kind of not really in the spirit of these times, right? It's very much, let's say, a replication or repetition, let's say, of third-party cookie-style matchings, which is just not really compatible anymore with, let's say, current privacy standards. So it's very clear that first-party data is going to be very important in a future strategy of any CTV publisher.
Now, for marketers who are watching this, what can you tell them about when is the right moment to invest in a first-party data strategy?
Yeah, so I think we talk about it a lot, and we always put it into the future. But if you look at these trends, right, they're happening today. They're happening now. So I think very clearly you should invest now. Now there are very different addressability levels with different publishers or different TV publishers. Some of them have very high levels, some have very low levels. But even if you have a very high level, there are always addressability gaps. And so if you augment your addressability strategy with first party, then there is an immediate gain. So we do think that you're leaving money on the table if you don't really engage with the topic today. So I think it's good for everybody to engage with it today as soon as possible. For those who feel like they have perfect addressability, it's also about, of course, creating future-proof systems, right? It's about having multiple ways to attack the market. And in a market that is so much under pressure, I think it's very important to do both.
Yeah, and I wanted to dig in a bit more into that with TripleLift. So what is your view on scaling first-party data?
Yeah, so absolutely, very, very good question, because first-party data is great, but most of the time there's not enough of it. One of the biggest challenges is that it's limited. Some publishers might have 10, 20, 30% of first-party data segments available, and of course if you want to create scale, you have to have more than that. And so there are two levers that we promote. One lever is to actually make sure that one publisher has a maximum amount of addressability within their domain. So we use predictive technologies to actually scale up, let's say, that small base of first-party data and scale it up to the entire inventory available to a publisher, which is a massive improvement already in reach and makes it very relevant for the advertiser side. But advertisers are demanding. They don't just want to do first-party data strategies for one publisher. They tend to want to do it across multiple publishers. And so the second lever is all about creating, let's say, that reach across publishers. That's really where the big scale, is. And that's something that we're really very actively working on today. And to create that scale, you're going to make sure that there is, on one hand, standardization. So you want to have standard segments that multiple publishers support that you can actually buy consistently. And on the other hand, you have to have collaboration, right? You have to have deals with all these different publishers. And so, you'd have to have, different deals with different publishers to actually create this scale. And this is really where I think TripleLift can play a very big role. Because it'll be very, very difficult for each and every advertiser to create all these different relationships and all these standardization frameworks. So we're now working very actively on building exactly that, a standardized, transactable market with multiple publishers based on first-party data.
And finally, René, I wanted to ask you a bit more about the role of programmatic in connected television, CTV, and perhaps you could just tell us a little bit about what you expect in the future, if there's anything you're looking forward to or would like to see happen?
Absolutely, yeah. So I think, programmatic is very, very suitable to what I just described, right? I think once you have this larger reach in this multiple publisher domain, programmatic is going to be a very good way to transact. Now, I don't believe that, programmatic is going to be everything. You have to have a multi-pronged strategy. So your first-party data strategy is going to feed your classic I/O campaigns. It's going to feed your programmatic PMPs. It's going to feed other partners' programmatic DMPs, and it might even feed, let's say, open market programmatic. So those are things that are all happening, but I think you have to be ready for a future that has, multiple different elements of it. So I think programmatic is the future, but it'll be multifaceted, and I think everybody has to make sure that they're ready to transact in multiple different ways to be really as effective as possible.